of the Auburn Board of Selectmen. In accordance with open meeting law, I'd like to announce that this meeting is being recorded and ask if there's anyone in the audience also recording. Seeing none, could we rise for the Pledge of Allegiance, please? I pledge allegiance
to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
So we have no one who has signed up. Let me just have Sharon confirm that. We have no one who has signed up for public comment. We have no public hearings or presentations. We have nothing under communications. I'll entertain a motion to move up agenda item 6A. We have quite a crowd here.
So move. Second.
So we have a motion to move up recognizing Life's on Church for volunteer service. All those in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? So voted. Mrs. Jacobson.
Through the chair to the members of the board, thank you for taking this item. I want to ask Darlene Coyle, the director of the Department of Development and Special Services, to come on up and explain. And I also want to give our sincere thanks from town administration, which we're so grateful for all of your help. But I want to let Darlene explain exactly why we have such a great crowd today and what great work they did on behalf of the town.
Hi, good evening.
Good evening.
I would like to introduce to the board, this is Pastor Matt Zimmerman of Lifesong Church of Sutton in Worcester, and he has brought his congregation. I see a lot of faces that I met recently. So we have, I think a couple of months ago, Lifesong Church had reached out regarding a proposed volunteer day, something that they call Serve Day, and it's a nationally recognized day where congregation and the people of the church do something that fills a need. So they had reached out to see what our needs may be here in Auburn and wanted to participate in the town for actually anything that we saw that we may make Auburn a little bit nicer. So while there's a lot of things, we know that the veterans parks, we take a lot of pride in. We have beautiful veterans parks here. And our DPW does a great job, but there's just not enough manpower in the day to pull every weed and put down mulch. So we had talked to Pastor Matt and asked if it was something that they may be interested in, and he said, I think we can do that. And the volunteers grew, and more people came, and more rakes showed up. And so a couple of weeks ago, you may have seen a whole group over at the Veterans Park at 12 and 20, and also at Prospect Street. And I have actually some pictures.
Oh, come on.
I was sneaking around taking pictures. This kind of shows you in front, and then it has some really nice before and after pictures. You can see what looks like grass, but it was actually weeds in the park. And so there's a kind of a really nice picture where it shows every single volunteer, like literally on their hands and knees, pulling weeds, and we were able to get mulch put down as well. The parks absolutely look beautiful. This is just a sample of pictures from that day, but I would love to, I'd love to have Pastor Matt just say a few words if
Sure.
you're interested.
Sure. Well, let me just start by saying thank you for inviting us to come be here. And I should start, by first saying not only thank you, but maybe starting with an apology from our senior pastor that he's not able to be here. Our lead pastor, Pastor David Payne, is on vacation, and sometimes, stuff happens so fast that you can't get plans changed. So thank you for having us, but maybe some context would be in order. What we're excited about, kind of what this is it's not something that we do once a year. We as a Lifesong family of churches have the vision of being all throughout Worcester County, serving and loving and living out the gospel the way Jesus would command us to do, loving our neighbor as ourselves. And so in that, we have teams that are out every week, every Saturday, out and about. And this initiative a week ago was kind of maybe the first time you've seen the red shirts. But if you look around and you kind of look at some of the faces out here, you see faces you know. You see, everybody from the Hammonds to the Cooks. We are Auburn. It's not, we're not just coming in. This is who we are. And so it's helpful to know, if you don't know already, that that kind of the vision and heart of the Lifesong family of churches is to put 9 campuses throughout all of Worcester County, and coming up in the fall, the 3rd one will be born right here in Auburn. And so as part of this, it's not just what we're trying to do and become, it's who we are. And so thank you for the opportunity to come be here and hear the heart of who we are as a church family, is to invest and love and serve the community that we, most of us already live and work in. So just thanks for the invite to be here. We appreciate it.
Well, thank you for the work you did. I actually live in that area and was coming down Route 20 and saw everyone working that day and was completely impressed with especially how many young people you had. So it's entirely up to them. I know you have lots of adults and lots of young people, but I would love if everyone can do it, but I would especially like the young people to come up. If they'd like to come up to the microphone and just give us their name and we can thank them. If you're camera shy, that's okay too, but we...
Absolutely. Come on, you guys. No.
You worked, no? I know one family who's not shy. Yeah. So tell us a little bit about your experience.
I was just, my mom told me that Lifesong was coming to Auburn, and I was really excited because I usually go to Lifesong, and it's a big part of me, so I was glad that they were coming over to Auburn.
Excellent. And thank you for volunteering that day to help out your hometown.
Thank
We'll keep an eye on him when he gets a little older.
Now, I know one of them just wrote an essay about running for public office. I'm not sure which one it was.
I was really happy when Lifesong, I found out we come to Auburn because don't have to drive as much. But I help out there a lot with younger kids, and it's a lot of fun because you get to help out the little kids find their way into the church or Jesus. It's really happy to see their smiles on their faces and help out, and thank you for letting us
Well,
be here.
thank you for the work you did for the town. So if no one else wants to come up, would you guys, at least anyone who's here with the church, please stand up so we can thank you? We appreciate the work you did, and it looks absolutely beautiful down there. So we're going to move on with our agenda. Please feel free to stay, but please feel free to leave it. Don't feel you have to.
And if I can just add one thing, I believe that we have some volunteers who've offered to help us this coming Sunday for our Independence Day event. So we're thrilled about that. It's a huge event, as you know. We get almost 10,000 people who come here, and it's a lot of work for all of us, and we're just grateful to have the support. So we're going to all, first of all, say all your prayers while you can for good weather on Sunday. Use that power to get sun on Sunday, and if it doesn't work on Sunday, we're going to have it on Monday. That's our rain date, but it's looking like it's not just going to be sunny, but it's also going to be mid-90s. It's going to be a hot one. So we thank you all very, very much for your volunteerism.
Yeah, thank you for coming in.
Thank you, everybody.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Make a motion, we have a 2-minute recess.
Second. All those in favor?
Aye.
Okay. Item we have is a seasonal open air for Boy Scout Troop 121. Is there a representative here? Hi, can you come up and join us, please?
Good evening.
Good evening. I just need you to give your name and address for the record, please.
Marco Pichera on behalf of Troop 121 in Auburn. So we would like to use the fire station's parking lot on Saturday, July 7th at no cost, so the troop can collect cans and bottles to raise money to fund the troops' various activities, including the Scout for Food service project, the townwide cleanup, and various Eagle Scout projects that have benefited the town. And all the necessary paperwork has been submitted.
Great. And we do have a note in our packet that the fire chief has asked that you set up on the lot next to the fire station. Okay. Are there any questions or comments?
No, this has been an ongoing project by all the troops, the scout troops throughout the town. I think it's a great thing, and just keep your project going. It's been successful for you, and it's great for the kids.
I'll take that back. Thank you.
Appreciate that.
And that's a week from this Saturday, on Saturday, July 7th, 9 a.m. to 2 p.m. down at the fire station. Is there a motion?
I'll make a motion to approve the license, provided that all applicable requirements of the state and town, any of its departments, boards, and commissions have been fulfilled. Said license is subject to all conditions stated upon it. Failure to comply with any and all of the conditions shall invalidate the license and render it null and void. The board...
Is there a second? Is there a second on that?
Second.
Any discussion? All those in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? So voted. Is there an additional motion?
Make a motion that we also vote to waive the fee.
Any discussion? All those in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? So voted. Have a successful
Thank you.
bottle
Good
drive.
luck.
Thanks for coming in.
Thank you all.
The next item we have is a common victualer's license for Biscotto Cafe at 744B Southbridge Street. Is the applicant here? If you could come up and join us, please. Just speak into the microphone. If you could give us your name and address for the record.
Yes, my name is Barbara Anton, 70 West Point Road in Webster, Massachusetts.
Okay.
And I'm here today because we would like to open a small bakery cafe in Southbridge Street in Auburn. Well, I want to show, share my passion with the town of Auburn, and this is some of the pictures of the things I make and what we will bring to this town, and we're going to have some healthy options too, allergy options for the people who, have some type of allergies.
I'll have one of each. Great.
That looks healthy to me.
Yes. Well, I try to, I have a big passion for baking. So my daughter, she tends to be allergic to milk, eggs. So I try to make everything that I can without those ingredients that everything has milk and eggs. So I do change a lot of things, and make them more healthy, but they still taste good. So, and that's what I do, and that's what I want to bring to this town, and hopefully I can bring some business to this town. I don't know, this is my husband, Michael. He's going to be working with me.
Hi.
And he grew up here in the town of Auburn, so
Now, you've met with the DCG.
yes, we did.
And you're familiar with the conditions that they've recommended, including working with the building inspector on the parking lot for the parking? Okay. Excuse me. Are there any questions or comments? Mr. Holstrom?
Yeah. Well, I think it's a great idea, and I think that what I'd like to find out is, you have a counter that's in the drawing. Is that going to be for people to sit at the counter, or is that just going to be the counter for serving?
It's showing kind of display counter.
Okay, and then are there going to be seats in there for
Yes.
tables and chairs for people
Yes.
to go in and sit and have coffee and?
Yes, they're gonna be 4 chairs, about I would say 15 to 70 people they can sit down.
Great. Thank you.
Yes.
Any additional questions? Is there any public comment? Is there a motion?
I make a motion, we approve the license, provided that all the applicable requirements of the state and town and any of its departments, boards, and commissions have been fulfilled. Said license, subject to all conditions stated upon it, and failure to comply with any and all of the conditions shall invalidate the license and render it null and void, and that with the conditions of the DCG to be placed on the license.
Is there a second? Second. Any discussion on the motion? All those in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed?
Good luck.
So voted. Good luck, and please let
Thank
us know
so
when you have
much.
your...
Thank you for your time.
Please let
Thank
us
you
know
for
when you have
having
your
us.
grand opening.
Thank you, yes, definitely.
Thank you. I'll entertain a motion to move up agenda item 5D. the designation of a special municipal employee.
So moved.
Is there a second? To move up the item? All those in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? So voted.
Through the chair, I'm going to turn to Bill Coyle, DPW Director, who can explain the situation, and he is with Tony Toscata.
Good evening, Madam Chair, members of the board. As the town manager mentioned, with me this evening is Tony Toscano. Tony is an electrician who currently works part-time for the school department, and we've also had the pleasure of using Tony to do electrical work, but it's come to our attention that he needs to be determined to be a special town and municipal employee. So he's here before you this evening to hopefully get approved as a special employee so that we can continue using his services.
And through the chair, if I can just follow up on that, approximately a year, maybe a year and a half ago, we came before the board with a list of positions that need to be designated as special municipal employee. So in this particular case, you designate the position, not the person in the position. So you would be voting to designate the school department electrician as a special town employee, which is done under Mass General Law, because in order to get paid by the same municipality out of two different entities, one being the school department and one being the town, you have to have this designation. So you're designating the position, but Tony is in that position.
Currently, yeah. Okay. Are there any questions?
Well, I guess...
Go ahead, Mr. Holstrom.
Just so I'm sure what's going on, now, has he been subcontracted before? Do you usually have people come in subcontracted and pay them for services from the outside? And what makes this different than services from the outside?
There are two companies that we've been primarily using. One is Stearns Electric, and we've also used Tony, and through Joe Fahey, there's been times when through shared services, he has had us use Tony through the school's budget during the 19 hours that he's paid per week. So he has been used by the town, and we'd like to continue to use him on the town side of our projects. So there are primarily two companies that we've been using. Okay. I'm not sure if that answers you.
Yep, no, it does. I understand a little bit more about where it is now. Thank you.
Are there any additional questions? Is there a motion?
Make a motion to designate school department electrician position as a special municipal employee.
Is there a second?
Second.
Any discussion? All those in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? So voted. Thanks.
Thank you.
Thanks for coming in.
Thank you.
Going back, we have a one-day beer and wine license for a total of 30 licenses for the Town of Auburn Packajaw Golf Course.
Through the chair, if I may just explain this. This is, I believe, the third
year, I think,
season we'd be coming before you for the one-day beer and wine license is 30. And just to remind everyone, as we described it last year too, under Mass General Law, an entity, any one single entity, in this case the town, is the applicant because we own the golf course, can only have 30 one-day licenses in a 12-month period. So that is why we have to go 30 at a time. We have looked at other options for looking at doing something on a permanent basis every day of the week. It's very complicated when you're a municipality, and we haven't found our way through some of the requirements yet as a municipality to be able to do this under a regular beer and wine license versus the 31-day licenses. So we've been working with Town Council Hennigan to try to figure out a way to do it, but the requirements are so complicated for a town. It's very hard for a town to meet the requirements. So we can meet the requirements for the 30-day license, and this would be the third summer.
Correct.
We still have plenty of space across from the golf course up in behind the parking lot to put in something permanent, so that would work out great. Anyway.
Are there any questions? Mr. Berthium?
So just to clarify with everybody, the one-day licenses, that it's for people, it's not necessarily for patrons to come up, park, and go in the clubhouse and have drinks. It's more for the golfers. Is that correct?
Correct. What we found is that quite often the golfers, if they come out of work, they like to have a drink while they're waiting for the other members that they're going to be golfing with. So they don't typically stay there more than 20 minutes, half hour, while they're waiting for the other members to show up that they're going to golf with. And then sometimes at the end of their round, they'll sit and have a drink. But we found it's been golfers that are there to golf and not people just coming in to have a drink. In fact, I don't think we've had much of that at all. So it's something that the members do ask for. So it's beginning of the season, they ask them when you're going to have the beer and wine license again, and we typically say, well, we're going to look for the 30-day license again. So it would start on July 4th and run. That's a Wednesday, so through that weekend, and then after that, we would start with Friday, Saturday, and Sunday for each weekend, because we have to have the license on Friday when the alcohol is delivered, and then through Saturday and Sunday. And then we wouldn't be selling alcohol Monday through Thursday.
In your calendar, there is a calendar in your packets that show the dates.
And if I could add also through the chair, all members that are working at the golf course, all employees would be tip certified. So there would be nobody selling alcohol that's not tip certified. And they are all instructed to card everybody. There's no exceptions. That way we don't get into, did they look like they were over 21 or over 30? Our policy is that everybody is carded. If they don't have an ID, they don't get served.
It's a good policy.
Thank you.
Mr. Liberty?
Through the chair. In September, there's September 6th and 13th. That's either or. It's also on a Thursday. I was just wondering when we might know which date it would.
Thank you. I think that's actually been, when this was submitted, I think that was something up in the air, and I believe it's going to be September 6th.
Are you comfortable making that change
Yes.
now?
Yes.
Okay. So on your calendar, it would, where it says September 6th or 13th, they're submitting the 6th. Is there anything else?
No, just it's worked out in the years past, and when I go up to play, then people are asking, when's it going to happen? And I said, well, we're looking into that now, so now we have an idea of when it's going to be, and like I say, it's been worked out great, and I will make the motion to approve the license, provided that all the applicable requirements of the state and town and any of its departments, boards, and commissions have been fulfilled. Said license is subject to all the conditions stated upon it, and failure to comply with any and all the conditions shall invalidate the license and render it null and void, and with the conditions of the DCG to be placed on the license.
Is there a second?
Second.
Is there any discussion on the motion? All those in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? So voted. Thanks, Bill.
Thank you.
6B out of order.
Okay. If I could have a motion to move up agenda item 6B, Leesville Pond Dam Grant. We can leave Mr. Coyle up here.
So moved.
Is there a second?
Second.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? That item is moved up.
Thank
Mrs.
you.
Jacobson.
I'm sorry.
Oh, that's okay. I was going to turn to Bill Coyle, the DPW director, to explain this grant opportunity that came up between your meetings, which is why we're here.
Okay.
Thank you, Julie. This is an opportunity that we were very happy to be able to at least have our grant submitted for possible consideration. And as the town manager mentioned, the information came to us relatively short notice, but I believe the opportunity for the grant was very limited timeline. So it was just after your last selectmen's meeting that it was determined that this would be a grant that the town of Auburn would be a strong candidate for the repairs to Leesville Pond Dam. The last inspection that we had indicated that it was in poor condition. When they do the inspections, there's a checklist that they go through, and there's certain criteria that will automatically trigger that condition, and one of them is having trees growing within 20 feet of the dam. So it doesn't necessarily mean the dam itself is in poor condition, but that the rating itself is in poor condition. So there are items that we need to address. One would be removing a large number of trees, also stabilizing some of the slope down gradient from the dam. Once the trees are removed, we would then want to stabilize those slopes. And we had also looked at potentially doing some of this work in-house. I think that it's probably a little large for our staff to accomplish. But we did move forward last fall with the design for this project. So a huge benefit to the town of Auburn is this project is shovel-ready, which a lot of times when you're going for the grants, for federal and state grants, they look for projects that are shovel-ready. We have the design is complete. We have all the permitting from the state and from the town of Auburn and the City of Worcester Conservation Commissions, and we would, if approved, we'd be ready to go. So this grant is offered through the Executive Office of Energy and Environmental Affairs, EOEA, I guess. And we are applying for just over $200,000. So we think we're a strong candidate, and I'm here this evening to get your approval.
Excellent. Thank you for your aggressive pursuit of these grants. Are there any questions? Mr. Holstrom?
Yeah, through the chair. Bill, is this going to help the flow of that dam for Leesville to kind of clean up the water over there to, and how does that work?
It probably wouldn't, it's not going to affect the flow. What we do currently perform is aquatic weed control within the dam, within of Leesville Pond, which is something I think it's probably been about 4 or 5 years that we've been doing. Prior to that, it wasn't being done. So in terms of the water quality, that's probably the biggest thing that we have been doing. But in terms of the flow, it wouldn't affect the flow of the pond itself.
Okay, so it will help out the water quality.
And what we're doing already is affecting the water quality. It's improving it by removing the aquatic weeds, which we do on an annual basis. The weeds will deplete the water body of oxygen, so by removing those aquatic weeds helps improve the water quality.
I guess what I'm getting to, if I may, next door to me is Camp Gleason, and I know the dam was rebuilt up there, and I know that if there's any available grant monies left over, we could maybe try to help that up there too, because I think we're in the same boat up there as Leesville Pond is.
The situation, if I could through the chair, the situation with Eddy Pond is there's a culvert under Route 20, and that culvert is owned by the state. So my understanding is the grants that come out are typically for towns, and the state is not eligible for the grant.
I see.
So the estimates that I've received from Mass DOT to replace that culvert and raise it, because the problem is that the culvert is too low under Route 20, so the water doesn't flow as fast through that culvert as it should.
Okay.
It builds up with sediment, and it almost acts as an equalizer. So when we get heavy rain event, the southern side, the large side of Eddy Pond, fills up, probably with 6 inches of water if it's a heavy rain event, and slowly seeps out. And from time to time, we've had problems with it plugging up completely, and we've had to flush that culvert out. We've had discussions with the state, and their estimation is about $1 million to replace the culvert. And I can say this problem has been going on a long time, because I can remember back when I was at Mass DOT, this came up as an issue then as well. So unfortunately, the grant that we're applying for Leesville, that culvert would not be a candidate for.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you.
Is there anything else on this? Excuse me. Is there a motion on agenda item 6B?
I make a motion that we accept and expend the funds from the grant for the Leesville Pond.
Is there a second?
Second.
Is there any discussion on the motion? All those in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? It's unanimous. Thanks, Bill.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you, Bill.
And we have a few more people in the audience. I'll entertain a motion to move up agenda item 6C.
6.
C.
So moved.
Is there a second?
Second.
Any discussion? All those in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? So voted. So this is information on the overflow bag price increase.
Right, if I could ask Darlene Coyle, Director of DDIS, to come up, and I'm not sure you're coming up by yourself, but I will turn it over to Darlene. And Amy Sullivan, welcome.
Hello again.
Good evening. Hi, Amy.
Hi, thank you.
Amy Sullivan, our recycling coordinator, and I would also like to recognize Lisa Rocheford, Solid Waste Advisory Committee member. And thank you for allowing us to give you this update on the overflow bags. So in recent months, we've had a lot of review of solid waste pricing and practices, things that we have been doing in looking for ways to improve ways for recycling, how to reduce solid waste, and taking a look at everything surrounding what the solid waste operations are. Through our, one of the items that we saw for the overflow bags, we did an assessment to see what facilities were still selling those bags. Originally, I think we had more outlets selling them, so we did an assessment. Through that assessment of figuring out where the bags are sold, so they're sold at actually 3 places. They're sold at Shaw's, Park and Shop, and then the Price Chopper that's right on the Worcester-Auburn line, right off of Route 20. We discovered that there was a pricing of $1 per bag, and the bag increase price is $1.50. Years ago, the Solid Waste Advisory Committee had brought to the Selectmen, and the Selectmen had noted that the bag increase would move forward. However, that never happened through some personnel changes. So we would like to let you know that we will be moving forward with the bag increase, and we're hoping to have this help with the cost for solid waste.
Just a general question. If people have bags now, they'll still be able to use those. It'll just be when additional purchases are made, it'll reflect the price it should have been now for a year, is it? Time.
Yes, for several years. So we have anybody that has bags that have already purchased them, that's fine. They can use the bags just like they normally would. Bags, just to let you know, they do not need to use bags to put inside the toter. This is strictly for anybody that has more trash than is allowed in the toter size that they choose. So they can either get a small or a large toter. And anything that doesn't fit in that toter for solid waste has to go in an overflow bag, and that gets put aside of the toter. So obviously, we encourage people to recycle as much as possible, reduce their solid waste so that you don't have the need for these overflow bags. But sometimes, certain times of the year, holiday times, a lot of people have more of everything. In the springtime, sometimes we see an increase of bags because people are cleaning out as well. So, for the most part, unless you are having an event, you may not be even using these overflow bags. Hopefully, you can contain the trash in the toter that is supplied.
Are there any questions or comments? No. Thank you so much for the update. Do you have anything else on the agenda tonight?
I don't. I just wanted to just remind everybody we have a Household Hazardous Waste Day in July, July 28th, and that's going to be from 9 to 12 at the Horgan Ice Arena across from the police station.
Okay. And where can people get information of what types of items they can bring?
So they can contact the Board of Health. We also have posted on the website the types of materials that we're going to take. Latex paint is often one of the things that people think is a hazardous material, but it's actually, you can dry it out with either crumpled newspaper or kitty litter or something. If you only have a little bit, you can leave the top off. You can let it dry out and throw it in the regular trash. But oil-based paints, pesticides, any sort of cleaners, anything that's kind of expired or you're not able to use any longer can be brought to the Hazardous Waste Day.
Great. Thank you.
Thank you.
And
Did you have some?
You said that was July 28th from
Saturday, July 28th, that's going to be from 9 to 12.
9 to 12, thank you.
Amy, did you have something you wanted to add?
Here, I did want to just mention the issue of the recycling restrictions from China. If anybody has questions about that, we're trying to really get a lot of outreach and information out there about the correct things to recycle, because we're getting a lot of contamination, and it's a nationwide issue. It's a global issue with the recycling of plastic specifically, where China has said, we're not taking contaminated recycling anymore, so it has to be really clean. There's been lots of press about it, so I just wanted to mention, while we are still, we want people to recycle as much as possible, we want people to recycle the correct items. So we're trying to get a lot of outreach out there. You might see Facebook postings or the quarterly newsletter. We're trying to get a lot of, just the correct things to recycle, and if there's any questions.
Mr. Holstrom?
Well, I do have a question on that note. I didn't get a chance to see the news article tonight on Channel 7, but something about the recycling is getting to a point where everything is going into an area and it's stopped because it's not being able to move on, be able to be recycled. Is there some issue with, what the law is, or maybe you can explain to us?
It's not the law. I think it really comes down to economics. China was one of the major receivers of recycling, and they have since, was it last year, they've placed restrictions on what they'll accept. So their amount of contamination, so food waste, for example, will contaminate a load of recycling. Material that can't be recycled will contaminate. So they're saying, we're not taking your trash, essentially. So U.S. recyclers have had to find different outlets for recycling, and a lot of companies are just stockpiling recycling right now.
Okay.
And I think some towns are actually getting waivers to dispose of it when they're in like crisis mode right now. So I did want to bring that up because it's certainly timely, and there's a lot of media about it right now. But in Auburn, we're still recycling, just so everybody knows. Our haulers are still bringing our recycling to recycling centers, and not sure where they're sending the different materials, but as far as we know, they're getting recycled.
Okay. Thank you very much.
Okay, thank you.
Appreciate that.
And you'll see, I'm sorry, through the chair. You'll see the messaging coming through, so DEP, and we're trying to send that message, recycle right, so making sure people are cleaning out their, when you have a food can or a bottle, rinse it. It has to do with, if you throw something dirty into that single-stream recycling toter and it gets contaminated, they throw the whole thing away as trash. So it's really about having people just understand what they're supposed to be putting in that toter. And so that's a lot of what, as the town, we were very fortunate to have the grant for the Waste Reduction Enforcement Coordinator. She's out there several times a week, literally just educating people about what to put in the toter and what's not recyclable. So just getting that food waste, plastic bags, things that don't belong in the recycling toter out of them will help us keep costs where they are.
So Darlene, if a resident has a contaminated toter and they've picked up recycling that whole day, is that whole truckload
It could be
contaminated?
It could be.
Because I mean, they're not.
If it's food
they're
that's-
all dumped into the same truck, so they're not separated per home. So
it's a great question. Recently, within the past couple of weeks, we actually had Casella reach out to us stating, this is what came from your town, and they showed a whole recycling load that was dumped, and it had all the wrong items in it. So they had to literally take that whole load and treat it as solid waste. So just having the understanding that as long as we're recycling, obviously we want people to recycle, but we want people to recycle in the correct manner. So it's not so much about quantity, as much as we'd love everybody to recycle as much as they could, but it's quality as well, the quality of the recycling. So you'll see we've started a social media campaign already to try to get the word out about what types of things that can help people do the right thing.
Glad you mentioned plastic bags, because that is a big one. It's a big issue that the recycling facilities have said, they don't have staff to open bags. A lot of that stuff, if it's in a bag, it's going to go as trash. And if they get enough of it, they'll probably charge the town. So again, it's all about trying to keep our fee down, try to make sure things are getting recycled as well.
People think they're helping by putting all their recycling into a plastic bag and then taking that bag and putting it into the recycling toter, when in fact, we have to treat that as trash. So a lot of people have the right, they're trying to do the right thing, but it's a matter of just getting people to listen to the message.
Well, I saw your message on social media today about the plastic bags, so hopefully we'll get that word out there.
Thank you.
Mr. Berthium?
The social media, is that a video showing like instructions like you finish a soda bottle or a soda cup and, go rinse it out? Does the straw get rinsed and put into the recycle? Does the cover get put into the recycle? That type of thing. And also, have we shared, if there is a video, have we shared that with the Auburn site that seems to hit a lot of people in Auburn now through, I know, Facebook, through social media? That's one of my kind of comments and suggestions. The other is kind of getting back to what's the status of when the signs that were going to go behind the mall were approved? Weren't we going to get a portable sign, and what's the status of that? Do we know when we might get something like that? Because couldn't we use that to kind of get the word out as to where to go on social media to look that stuff up?
So through the chair, the Auburn Mall signs, the electronic signs, received their local permitting, and they're in the process of getting their state approvals right now. Once they get a state approvals, they're hoping to start installation this fall, and depending on how quick they get their state approvals, we're hoping by year end to be done, and once they're done and operational, the town would then get its donation. So yes, we will at some point be able to get that, to get the donation from the Total Media is the name of the company. We do have an electronic sign board already. We also have the electronic sign at the fire station. And we certainly can and have done in the past PSAs, which is what I think you're talking about, a public service announcement, where go on cable television and do an educational outreach component. But I'm going to turn to you.
Sure. Thank you, Julie. So we have done PSAs, and it is something that we have, we're working towards doing seasonally. I think the last ones that we did were right around the holiday time to help people understand like what to do with cardboard, what to do with everything that you get around holiday time with gifts and packaging and disposal. So we have done those. I like the idea of, maybe showing a video. It is something that we have talked about. We don't have a current video on that, but right now we're trying to send out like small snippets, because I think sometimes people like getting, they maybe read a couple of sentences. Oh, okay, yeah, I can do that. So we're trying to, give messaging, but we will definitely incorporate, some videos into that as well to help. I appreciate the suggestion.
And through the chair, if I can also add to that, we do have a practice and a policy that we don't post on non-official sites. We only post on our own official town site, but people are welcome to go on to our official town site, because they know that way the information is accurate and coming from the town. They can, from our site, share it with private sites.
Okay, perfect.
In my experience, that has happened. Usually, like, we'll post something on our town site, and then, the others will pick it up and just spread that message.
Thank you.
Is there anything else on this? Thanks so much for coming in.
Thank you
Thanks
very
for your
much.
efforts.
Thank you for your time.
I'm sorry, you want the back?
And Amy, just one more thing before you leave. Just, it's not for tonight. The Board of Selectmen took a vote at their last meeting to continue the public hearing, to reopen the public hearing for the plastic bag ban on September 10th. Okay. Just, I know you guys had taken a position, so you may want to, we'll continue the discussion and see what happens. But I know you may want to speak at that, so thank you. Going back to the agenda, we're at Board of Selectmen item E, discussion and vote on the 2018 summer meeting schedule. Excuse me. We had briefly discussed it at the last meeting, but wanted to have a full board for this. Looking at July, there are 5 Mondays. I had thought initially of possibly doing it right in the middle of the month, but there were select board members who were not available, so I would like to propose having it on the 4th Monday, which would be the 23rd. I know it's going to be difficult, especially in July and August, to have everyone here, but does July 23rd work for everyone?
I have no problem with that, the 23rd. Not this week.
Regularly scheduled.
It's a regularly scheduled meeting. It's just we would be skipping the 2nd and just doing the 4th.
I won't be there. I think I was available for the 16th.
I thought, I thought you had said you weren't available the 16th. That's what you had said at the last meeting.
Was that original? Okay.
Yeah.
I know my plans had changed. I'm now flying out the morning of the 17th, so I would, if it was just me, I would be available on the 16th.
We just need a majority.
I don't know if that affects anybody else.
Well, Mr. Holstrom is not available on the 16th.
That whole week I wouldn't be
But
gone.
it's going to be difficult. So do we just schedule a regularly scheduled meeting, which would be the 23rd, or schedule it on an off week? How do board members feel?
Either is fine for me, and thank you for holding off until I was here to vote on it.
23rd works for me.
If it works for the majority, I think you go with it, because
It's a regular meeting. So is there a motion to hold one meeting in the month of July on July 23rd?
So moved.
Is there a second?
Second.
Is there discussion? All those in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? So voted. Now we're looking at August, and I would propose holding the one meeting on the 27th. And having said that, Ms. Jacobson has some information regarding some bands that
Right.
are time.
Through the chair, the board, at the last meeting, you took a vote for allowing us to go out to, actually, it was a reduction of a deficit due to the middle school project. And those bands will then go out on the September or the end of August meeting, schedule. So we spoke with our financial advisors at Unibank, and the 27th would work out perfectly for them as far as having you take a vote and actually sign the notes that have to be signed that evening. So if at all possible, the 27th does work great with the bands.
So the 27th is a regularly scheduled meeting. The second Monday is the 13th. The fourth Monday is the 27th. I would propose that we hold one meeting on the 27th. I'll look for any input.
27th works for me.
Is there a motion to
that motion.
hold one meeting in the month of August on August 27th?
So moved.
Is there a second?
Second.
Any discussion? All those in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? So we'll meet once in July. And of course, if anything comes before the
Right.
board that requires our attention, we would, of course, schedule a meeting on our regularly scheduled meeting. Okay, thank you. Moving on, under gift acceptance in accordance with Mass General Law, Chapter 44, Section 53A, for the library, we have from the Auburn Women's Club in the amount of $50 to purchase books in memory of past presidents of the Auburn Women's Club, Elizabeth Johnson and Cynthia Pasek. Also in the amount of $50 to the library, books for children in memory of Jean Willis from John Willis and David Willis and family.
Make a motion, we accept with gratitude.
Second.
Any discussion? All those in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? So voted. And to the Department of Public Works, and this comes in the form of goods and services, the yellow school bus, $500 to shuttle people from Auburn Mall to Pappas Recreation Complex for the 4th of July celebration. And this is a gift from AA Transportation.
Make a motion, we accept and present a letter to AA Transportation for their, to be signed by their chair.
Is there a second?
Second.
Any discussion? All those in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? So voted. We have no proclamations and recognitions. Under town manager items, we've handled agenda item A, B, C. So we are at agenda item D, fiscal year 2019 state budget $40,000 earmark for public safety.
Through the chair, this is just an informational item to bring to your attention. Senator Moore had been asked by the Auburn Housing Authority to see if any state funding could be identified and allocated to the Housing Authority for the purchase of security cameras, surveillance cameras. They want to make sure that they keep their residents safe, and they would like to install cameras at select locations at their Housing Authority properties. Senator Moore was able to get an earmark in the state budget, and it was actually in the FY18, which is our current budget, and we were notified last Thursday that that earmark passed, and the funds were transferred to the town, not directly to the Auburn Housing Authority. The town, in any of these cases of earmarks, the funds go to the town as a fiduciary conduit, and then we would then give the money to the Auburn Housing Authority. So in speaking to Senator Moore's office today, I asked for a letter from his office that identified that the funds were for the Auburn Housing Authority, because the line item, while it was submitted by the Senator's office, stated that it was for the Auburn Housing Authority. When it got in its final form through the legislature, it said for public safety in the town of Auburn. So I wanted to make sure, number one, the public understood we did not get $40,000 for the police department or for the town. It is specified for the Auburn Housing Authority. So we have a letter for that effect. That will help us with any future audits. So now we are signing a transfer of those funds and getting a check ready for tomorrow to get to the Auburn Housing Authority. So I just wanted you to be aware of it, because if you do see anything in the paper or anything about this dollar amount, it is going to the Housing Authority.
Thank you. Mr. Holstrom?
Yeah, through the chair. Julie, that kind of leaves it wide open. We're going to send them a check for $40,000. It's earmarked for public safety, but that's a wide open door. When they receive the $40,000, what are they going to be using that money for? Is it going to be directed to security? Is it going to, or can they use it as they need it over there?
No, the line item that was submitted by the senator to the legislature was specific for $40,000 for the purchase of surveillance equipment.
Okay.
So that is what it has to be for. It did not show that way in the final reading of the bill, and that was what was, approved, which is why I requested a letter. So the letter I received from the senator today explained exactly what the use of the dollar is. And also, we attached the letter that Lori Brennan, who's the director of the Housing Authority, sent to Senator Moore requesting funds for cameras. Pardon me. So both of those are now attached to the transfer. So it's specific what they have to use the money for.
Okay. Thank you.
Did you want to mention something about the cooling station?
I do. I would like to, if I can, 2 items on here. I mentioned it earlier when the Lifesong Church was here, but our Independence Day celebration is this Sunday, and it starts at 5 o'clock with events and rides and games and vendors for children, and that's open 5 to 9:30. The fireworks start at 9:30. The walk into the pavilion with the veterans and the elected officials starts at, I believe it's 6:45. So if any of you are able to come, please do, and also let me know. We have passes for you for parking. And there'll be a few words of welcome. Congressman McGovern is coming, Senator Moore, Representative Frost, and any member representative from the Board of Selectmen and the school committee as well. We also have the concert starting right after that, so around 7 o'clock the concert starts. Our rain date is Monday. Same time, same place. We also want to thank all of our sponsors, because once again this year we have the Worcester Regional Transit Authority, who is providing the buses for us, as well as tonight you accepted the donation from the AA Transportation, which is the provider for the schools. So we have
I believe at the end of the evening, we'll have 6 buses to get people out, so it's a lot of buses. And we also want to thank them all, because they're also a sponsor. They allow us to use their parking lot, and that's a huge, huge help for us. And our last thanks, but not least, is to Hometown Bank, which you did accept the donation of $2,500, which pays for the concert and some of the other pieces of this event. I think last week, we also, or 2 weeks ago, you also accepted funding from the William Reisner Foundation, I think $1,000 from them toward the Independence Day event. So it's definitely a great community event. We encourage everyone to come. We do allow, I want to make a comment that we do allow service animals. Dogs and other pets are not allowed that evening because of the number of people there, but service animals definitely welcome. We do have handicap parking. Any questions, you can contact our office, contact DPW. We have maps online that show the parking lots that are available and show the shuttle schedule. The shuttles will run continuously all night, starting at 5 until the last person leaves, probably around 10:30, 10:45. We will get people out. So I also want to mention, and we don't have any details on it yet, but we've been watching the forecast, and there looks to be a pending heat wave that may begin Saturday. You know, forecasts change quickly, so we are going to watch it. But presuming that it starts Saturday, Sunday, Monday, Tuesday, and Wednesday are all supposed to be in the 90s. So we are trying to work with the senior center and get some volunteers to open a cooling station at the senior center. So I wanted to just let you know that tonight, so the public is aware of it. If that forecast continues and it looks like we are going to have a heat wave, we will announce through Code Red and on our social media sites that we'll open a cooling center. And it's basically just the area in the senior center for families and anyone who's affected by the heat to come and just be in an air-conditioned place, have a glass of water, and just get out of a warm house if they are in that. Just want to put another word of warning to our residents. Make sure that you check on your elderly neighbors. It's really important. If you have health issues, if your children have health issues, if the elderly have health issues, that type of heat is very, very dangerous. And also a word to just make sure your pets are not left outside and you give them water as well. It affects pets as well as humans. So that's our public service message. But we will keep you informed, watch the forecast, and we'll make arrangements if indeed we do have a heat wave.
Great. Do you have anything else?
I'm all set, thanks.
Thank you so much. Moving on, under Board of Selectmen tabled items, we have, under subcommittee, we have draft code of conduct, revision of recognition policy, and a proclamation policy, and new recommendation for subcommittee's consideration. Mr. Holstrom, Mr. Berthium, do you have anything on this, or are we holding it for the next meeting?
I'm making some final changes on the draft code of conduct and hope to have at our next meeting a new copy for everyone to review.
Okay, if you could, if you have it available Thursday prior to the meeting, Sharon can get them into the packets. Okay, and the proposed plastic bag ban, as I just stated, we took a vote at our last meeting to hold a meeting, I just forgot the date now, September 10th, which still leaves time for a town meeting action if that's the direction the board or anyone takes. Is there anything else on those? There are no Board of Selectmen member items. There's no one here from the public for public comment. We have the minutes of May 21st. Are there any corrections or omissions? Seeing none, is there a motion?
So moved.
Second?
There's a motion and a second to adjourn. All those in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? We are adjourned. Have a
Thank you,
good
and
evening.
good night.